Elvis Santiago sat backstage, heart pounding like a drum in his chest. The bright, unforgiving lights of the stage felt like they were trying to pierce right through him. At 26, he was not a fresh-faced teenager with dreams too big for the world. No, he was considered too old by many in the industry, including his own manager, who had sighed just the night before, saying, "Elvis, maybe you've missed your chance. Most of these talent shows want younger performers. You're 26, that's practically ancient in this game." The words had stung more than he expected. Elvis had spent years singing in small bars and cafes in Manila, pouring his soul into every performance, hoping for a single chance to shine. And now, with Simon Cowell watching from his judge's chair, his chance had arrived. Yet doubt gnawed at him like a persistent shadow. Was he really too old to chase this dream? Could one performance erase years of struggle, or confirm his manager's warning? The host called his name, and the stage erupted in applause. Elvis took a deep breath, stepped into the spotlight, and immediately felt the familiar weight of every past failure lift slightly. For these next few minutes, he could be nothing but the music. He opened with a slow, haunting note that silenced the audience almost immediately. The song he had chosen wasn't flashy or overly complicated, it was raw, emotional, a piece that carried his life story in every verse. He sang as if he were speaking directly from his soul, telling the audience about nights spent sleeping on cold streets after gigs that barely paid rent, about being laughed at for daring to dream, about the longing in his heart for a stage that felt forever out of reach. Simon Cowell, known for his stoicism and razor-sharp critiques, leaned forward slightly, his eyebrows knitted. He had seen countless singers come and go, and many had promised the world only to crumble under pressure. But there was something different about this performance. There was no pretense, no gimmick, just pure, undeniable talent. By the second chorus, Elvis had transformed. His voice, rich and controlled, yet filled with the fragile vulnerability of someone who had faced countless rejections, gripped the audience. You could hear a pin drop in the theater. Even the camera crew seemed to forget their movements, focusing only on him. The emotion he poured into the final verse was palpable. Tears glimmered in his eyes as he held a note that seemed to stretch time itself. When he finished, there was a moment of silence so heavy it felt as though the world itself were holding its breath. And then the applause erupted, thunderous, overwhelming, filling every corner of the arena. The crowd was on their feet, cheering, clapping, some even wiping away tears. Elvis, exhausted and trembling, barely noticed the rush of adrenaline, only aware that he had given everything he had, and it had been enough. Simon Cowell sat frozen, his mouth slightly open, a rare expression of disbelief on his face. He had seen seasoned performers, prodigies, and viral sensations, yet Elvis's performance carried something he hadn't witnessed in years, absolute authenticity. Finally, Simon stood, his voice low but powerful, cutting through the roar of the audience. That was extraordinary," he said. His usual sharp tone softened, replaced by genuine awe. "Elvis, I don't care about age, experience, or your manager's doubts. You just reminded me, and all of us, what real talent looks like." That was breathtaking. Elvis could hardly process the words. His knees felt weak, his heart still hammering, but a lightness he hadn't felt in years filled him. It was as if the weight of every "no" he had ever heard had lifted in an instant. Backstage, after the performance, Elvis's manager approached him, hesitating. I didn't expect that," he muttered, avoiding eye contact. "I mean, I always knew you had talent, but, wow." Elvis smiled, but it wasn't just a smile, it was a quiet victory over every doubt, every setback. Over the next few days, the performance went viral. Clips circulated online, with headlines praising the 26-year-old singer who defied expectations and left Simon Cowell speechless. Messages from fans poured in from all over the world, praising his voice, his courage, and the raw honesty he brought to the stage. Elvis's story became more than just about a singing competition. It was a testament to perseverance, to chasing dreams regardless of age or societal expectations. For every person who had been told they were too late, Elvis became a beacon of hope. Weeks later, during another round of the competition, Simon called Elvis backstage. He placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "I've seen a lot of talent, Elvis, but you have something rare, something that can't be taught. You make people feel. Don't ever forget that." Elvis nodded, absorbing the weight of Simon's words. For the first time, he realized that his age was not a barrier, it was a part of his story. Each year of struggle, each rejection, had shaped the depth of emotion in his voice. And that was what made him unforgettable. The following months were a whirlwind. Elvis performed on stages across the country, receiving standing ovations and critical acclaim. Recording contracts, interviews, and invitations flooded in, but he remained grounded, remembering the nights he had spent doubting himself, the nights he had considered giving up. Yet, no matter how far he went, he never forgot the moment on that stage when his heart pounded, and every note he sang carried the weight of his journey. That moment, when the world seemed to stop and Simon Cowell, who had seen it all, was left speechless, would forever be etched in his memory. In interviews, when asked about the turning point in his career, Elvis always returned to that night. "I wasn't too old," he would say with a laugh. "I was exactly the right age to give everything I had." Sometimes, the world underestimates you, not because you lack talent, but because it's waiting for you to prove it to yourself first. By the end of the season, Elvis Santiago wasn't just a contestant, he was a symbol. His story inspired thousands, proving that dreams do not have expiration dates, that perseverance can shatter the most entrenched doubts, and that sometimes, all it takes is one moment on stage to change everything. And for Simon Cowell, it was a reminder that the heart of talent isn't just in technical perfection, it's in authenticity, in emotion, in the courage to stand before the world and let every scar, every struggle, every ounce of soul shine through. When the final episode aired, and Elvis took the stage once more, the audience erupted with anticipation. Cameras zoomed in on Simon, who couldn't hide a smile that was rare, even for him. As Elvis sang, the theater seemed to transform into a cathedral of sound, a place where every person present was connected by the raw honesty of his voice. By the end, there was no doubt. The 26-year-old singer, once called too old by his manager, had proven that age is never a measure of talent, courage, or heart. Simon Cowell, who had seen it all, stood speechless once again, this time, with tears glimmering in his eyes. Elvis Santiago had not only changed the trajectory of his life, he had reminded the world that dreams are timeless, and that the stage waits for no one, but it also rewards those brave enough to step onto it with everything they have. And in that moment, Elvis knew, he had finally arrived.